Good morning on this Tuesday, February 18th. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett, streaming live on clickorlando.com, YouTube, and News 6 Plus. I'm Bridgett Ellison. Good to be with you and hope you are keeping warm and enjoying the weather too. We're going to check in with Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos in just a moment, and we'll get a check of the roads with Trooper Steve. We also have a live interview coming up this morning with Creative City Arts Project, and we'll be talking to founder Cole Neesmith, and always looking forward to finding out more about what's happening around the city. And this Friday, it's IMMERSE Festival. It's going to be 3 days of great events. So you know what? We do need to check on the weather for that too. So let's head over to the Pinpoint Weather Center and see what Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos is talking about. I thought it was funny this morning when we all, between Steve and Crystal and I and you, talked about what's chilly, what's cold, what's nice, and everybody's just like coping different ways.
It's just funny because it's back to normal, right? So we're back to where we have been all February long. It's just that it's just been so abnormally hot. I mean, it was the hottest start to February ever on record. So it's funny that when we get back down into the we're all like, is it cold? Is it frigid? Are there freeze warnings? Just because it just feels so much colder. Now we are going to warm up today, back to near normal, mid-70s, getting up a little further on Wednesday, all before a nice big dip in those temperatures. But along that cold front, here comes some rain. So here's that weather whiplash about. We're at 70s today, near normal. Rain chances will be on the rise on Wednesday with a rain coverage up to about a 60 to 80%. And then we're talking about almost a 20-degree drop, about a 15-degree drop between Wednesday and Thursday, with overnight lows Thursday night, early Friday in those 40s. So temperatures out the door. You can figure out which kind of version you want to say. Is it cold? Is it cool? Is it, however you want to break it, mild? Some people might even say it's mild. It certainly is mild in Melbourne right now at 64. We're at 54 in Orlando, and then about 45 in the Villages. So we have about a 20-degree spread across our northern zones and our southern zones. Highs this afternoon, right where that average mark of 75 degrees. Could see a touch cooler conditions there along the coastline, just because we do have that breeze in place that will bring in a little bit of cloud cover throughout the afternoon. So overall, not a bad day today. If you like temperatures in the 70s, you like that sunshine, today is going to be perfect. As we head into tonight, the cloud cover will start to build. That breeze will start coming in out of the south, and that's going to keep temperatures tonight pretty mild. So much warmer start tomorrow morning. The clouds and rain forecast, though, does show that the rain and the storms will approach our northern zones about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday. The reds and those darker oranges indicating the potential for some isolated thunderstorms. No big severe weather threat in this round of rain, but still a rumble of thunder or two can't be ruled out. By about 5-6 o'clock, if your kids or yourself have those after work, after school activities, practices, games, walks, runs, walking the dog, whatever the case may be, just do be aware that your plans might have to be altered a bit due to the rain and a few storms after about 5-6 o'clock. Then most of the rain kind of weakens, pushes out, and then that colder air will start settling in. Rain chances for today, I should say on Wednesday, will be staying at about a 50 to 80%. Again, higher the further north you go, as many of the models are kind of weakening a lot of that rain as it crisscrosses the state. Now, I just want to put things into perspective because, everyone was kind of like, oh, it's so cold. Well, right now it's about 80 degrees colder in Bismarck right now than it is here in Orlando. Right now, Bismarck's actual temperature, Bridgett, this is not a feels like. What the thermometer reads right now is negative 35 degrees. And we've been talking a lot about a polar vortex. Isn't this little evil villain that comes out from the North Pole and blows cold air and then, retreats back? This is basically a big old area of low pressure that just sits over the North Pole. And every once in a while, it's a blob of air. So it kind of ebbs and flows a bit. So we get some hot air surging north. It kind of pushes a big old blob south. And that little outbreak of that blob is what we call the polar vortex coming. The polar still up in the poles. It hasn't left. If the actual vortex left the North Pole, the entire world would be, haywire. But with that being said, a little outbreak kind of escapes, and that blob sends itself further south across the equator. So right now, that blob will continue to make its way further south. You can see kind of that ebb and flow of that purple there, indicating that surge of cold air. So that cold air, once it gets here, will be felt starting Thursday. We'll be in the 60s, Thursday, Friday. This is the coldest point of the week. We will be waking up near freezing in Ocala Friday morning, mid 40s, pretty much area wide. And that trend will continue, staying nice and cool. We'll be moderating back to near 70 degrees as we head into your Sunday. So if you like the weather nice and normal, today's your perfect day. If you're one of those like Steve who needs some rain for his grass, I know my grass could totally use some rain. You're like tomorrow, but if you're holding on to a little bit more winter, you'll like the rest of the week. So I try to make sure to sprinkle enough weather for everybody in the next 7 days. I'm so kind. You're right.
We appreciate it, Candace. This is quite a little mix there we have coming up.
Yeah, pretty good mix up.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
All right, let's check in with Trooper Steve. We had quite a traffic morning and some more questions lingering. So let's check in with him and see what he's up to. How's it going? Good morning. Muted.
I always do that just so there's no talk back, and it's such a pain, Yeah, the morning is kind of cleared up. We had that earlier fatal that was off of Hiawassee, and then we had some police activity. But it was just our local law enforcement doing what they do. They found a stolen vehicle. They were able to set up a perimeter and recover the vehicle and the person who stole it. So job well done there. No incidents because of it. So when it comes to our roadways, fairly routine this morning, Bridgett. Not too bad. After that crash kind of cleaned up, the crashes kind of stayed away. So let's go right over to the maps real quick. 408 right now, routine westbound from about Azalea Park, Goldenrod, State Route 551, westbound to downtown Orlando. No quick slowdowns there, which is always a good thing. Florida Turnpike looking pretty good. It does look like we have a crash off to the right side of your screen there, and I'll get the information on that as I'm talking to you. That's going to look like it's going to be right off of the McCoy area. McCoy and Orange Avenue. Not sure of the exact details on that crash, but it does look like a pretty serious one. Has some lanes shut down, so just be careful. Next cut in on broadcast, I'll make sure to update you guys. 9 minutes right now from 436 to I-4 on 528, which is actually a really good drive time. And then the only bit of slowdown that we currently have is going to be westbound on I-4 from 417 in Sanford to downtown Orlando, so not too horrible. You're looking at routine slowdowns on Narcoossee and, of course, your ramp from 417 to the Turnpike. So no major incidents out there, just all the routine stuff, Bridgett.
Okay. What's going on later?
So this was an interesting one. One of our producers sent me a message, Katrina Scales, about a marking in the roadway in Oviedo. When I saw it, I knew what it was, and I've seen it a few times, but I've never been asked about them. And they're called, I don't want to mess this up. What are they called? Speed indicator markers on the ground. So you might be going, what is Steve talking about? Well, I'm going to talk about that today at 10 o'clock at clickorlando.com, and I'm going to be visiting the city of Oviedo. And there's another spot that I'm going to go record beforehand just so I can get it on record that it also pops up, but it's on the roadway and it's designed to get your attention and subconsciously slow you down. So you're not going to want to miss this one. It's rather interesting in the traffic.
Is it more like a hump or more like one of those cables you drive over?
Neither.
It's more like a sensor kind of thing?
Nope. It is as simple as it comes. It's a paint marking that is on the ground that appears in areas where your speed is going to slow down, and subconsciously the markings on the roadway force you to slow your speed. So we're going to go look at them off of, I think, Lake Drive or something like that in Oviedo. But I'm also, if you've traveled downtown before, they're on 408 if you're headed east to I-4 east. So that strong ramp that's there, there's some markings in the roadway that you're like, wait, I got to slow down, because it's forcing you visually to slow down.
It's letting
so look
you
at
know
that. You
there's
don't
a
even need to
shift
join
happening.
my stream today. Yeah, you don't even need to join my stream. Just handled it right there.
We need to see it in person now, so we'll watch.
All right,
we'll watch
10
it
a.m.
too. Thanks, Steve. All right. You know what? Speaking of traveling and safety, we unfortunately have another incident. This happened in Toronto. A Delta flight crash landed and flipped. Thankfully, everyone is okay, but 18 people out of the 80 on board were injured, but thankfully everyone is alive. And our Angie Casada has more about what happened there.
New video obtained by TMZ shows the moment a Delta Airlines plane hit the runway, then flipped over at the airport in Toronto on Monday. Witnesses capturing the frantic moments after impact on their cell phones.
We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down.
Delta Flight 4819 was operated by Endeavour Air en route to Toronto from Minneapolis. The airline says 76 passengers and 4 crew members were on board. Investigators are now looking into the role strong winds may have played. Gusts hit 40 miles per hour at the time of the crash.
Having flown in Toronto many times, it is challenging with the winter conditions. You have to be on top of icing situations, both for the runway, also for the aircraft. They're going to be looking at wind shears, possibly anything that could actually have turned the aircraft over like that.
And of course, we'll be following that. And the Transportation Safety Board of Canada is leading that investigation, and the U.S. officials assisting. Delta Airlines says it's sending a response team to help people who've been impacted. And 2 runways there that were involved are still closed as they investigate. Now, this comes as we've been hearing about a round of layoffs with the FAA, and many people are finding out that they are going to be out of a job as part of federal cuts through the Trump administration to save money in the federal workforce. The White House insists these layoffs will not impact air traffic control, but critics say that it still raises some safety concerns.
It just really makes me worry that they're cutting very essential people. The FAA is already really understaffed as it is.
And so a Central Florida congressman is calling on the FAA to make some major improvements to air traffic control here in Orlando. And News 6 anchor Eric Von Anken actually covered that. You can look at that story on clickorlando.com. Now to another city debating fluoride, and in Longwood, city leaders have decided to get rid of it. The decision comes after Florida Surgeon General warned about possible negative health impacts from adding fluoride, especially for children. Longwood had been putting it in the water since the 80s to help with dental health, but it now becomes the latest Central Florida city to get rid of fluoride, along with Tavares, Palm Bay, Ormond Beach, and Melbourne. And now to Mount Dora. Leaders there are still talking about ways to figure out what's going on with some of the smells in the air that people are complaining about. And they're set to discuss a plan tonight to spend another $270,000 try and figure this out. This is particularly in the Sullivan Ranch neighborhood where many complaints are coming from. And Sullivan Ranch is near the wastewater treatment plant, but the city hired another firm previously to look into this, and the findings came out inconclusive. So they're hoping another study with someone else will get them some answers. That meeting is set for 6 o'clock, so we'll keep you posted on what happens there. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with a live interview about IMMERSE Festival, which begins Friday here in Orlando. Welcome back. We have a live interview this morning with Cole Neesmith, Creative City Project founder, and IMMERSE Festival is coming back this Friday. Good morning, Cole.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. I'm excited to talk about IMMERSE because it is just such a spectacular, several day event, and there's always something different and something new to see. So what are you really excited about this year?
One of the things I love about IMMERSE is that when you come downtown, no matter what you experience, you're going to have an incredible time. And so there's so many things happening. What we like to talk about is, every guest will have a totally different but equally exciting experience. Mm-hmm. And some of the big things that you'll encounter this year: Cirque du Soleil artists hanging from cranes, Blue Man Group performing on a stage right there in downtown Orlando. And then after they are done performing on that stage, they'll hop off stage and roam around downtown. You might have an unexpected encounter with them. We have Broadway's Michael James Scott, who will be performing. He's most well known as playing the genie in Aladdin on Broadway. So we have a very exciting festival coming up this weekend.
And what I love about it is that, like you said, no matter when you come out, you'll be immersed. That's why you call it that. Now, what year is this for IMMERSE? Because this has been something that we've been enjoying for several years now.
Yeah, this will be the 10th festival that we have produced. It started in 2012. Very small group of artists who just came out and played their guitars on the street corner and danced in vacant lots. And it was kind of a pop-up event that very first
Mm-hmm.
year. And over the years has definitely grown in scale, has grown in scale of the performances that you'll experience when you come downtown, has grown in scale related to our audience size. And it's an incredible 10-year anniversary.
And you're able to make most of this free, which is a really, it's really priceless when you think about how much something like this might cost if you did price it out. So how are you able to provide it mostly free of charge?
Sure, we're grateful for our relationships with Orange County. We have an incredible resource here in Orange County through the tourist development tax, which is actually tax revenue that's collected when people come in from out of town and stay in hotels. And so Orange County government has been committed to investing a part of that annually into arts and culture here in Central Florida, including IMMERSE Fest. And so about 80 to 90% of our audience will come for free and
Mm-hmm.
experience hundreds of performances and interactive arts experiences across the city. And then, of course, the city of Orlando and the Downtown Development Board, as well as some of our corporate partners like Advent Health.
That is amazing. Yesterday we talked to Victory Cup Initiative about their breakfast that's coming up. It's just so great to have a community where they support the arts. And you see that in these great events that are still able to survive through these times and still be mostly free of charge. Now, you do have like some upgraded experiences where you have still some pretty affordable tickets for if you would like to buy tickets for a few things this weekend.
Of course, we have our full access experience, which is just a $25 ticket that gets you access to reserved viewing areas at each of the stages, get you up close to those performances, as well as access to what we're calling the IMMERSE Art Park, which is large-scale light sculptures that are interactive and really fun. So there are some upgrade experiences, all the way up to a really fun experience on Friday night where you can have a seated dinner right in front of one of those primary stages, and then experience Cirque du Soleil and Broadway's Michael James Scott as part of that dinner.
This rain or shine, I was talking to Candace about that weather.
Yeah, it looks like we have great weather coming up for Friday and hopefully also for Saturday and Sunday. So I think that we're going to have a great time as we gather together in downtown.
So the dinner, you were telling me, and now that one is a little more expensive. It's about $170, but that includes, like you said, the show and the dinner. Like who's putting together the food? Is it like a compilation of some different places, or what's happening?
That is a part of one of our food and beverage team is putting that together, and it'll be an incredible multi-course dinner with some specialty cocktails that are specifically crafted for that dinner. And as you're seated along Orange Avenue, it really is an incredible experience. You're just surrounded by the city and having that dinner in a totally unique place, and then of course accompanied by some of those incredible performances.
Now, if you're a newcomer to come out to the festival any day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, what would be your recommendation strategy-wise as far as like parking, bringing strollers or bringing snacks? What would you say to do?
You can bring strollers, you can bring snacks if that's what you'd like to do. We'll have food and beverage options throughout the festival. Parking there, if you go to immersefest.com, there's an entire parking page that highlights specific garages depending on which direction you're approaching downtown Orlando, encouraging guests to use some of those garages a couple blocks away for easy in and out access. And then rideshare information, some good recommendations if you want to take a rideshare service of where to get dropped off, and then walk a couple blocks over to Orange Avenue. So it goes from Orange Avenue down to Dr. Phillips Center all the way up to Central Boulevard, Church Street, Pine Street, and then this year we're adding an art market up and down Magnolia Boulevard.
Okay, wow. Okay, it sounds like it's hard to get to all of it, but you have 3 days, so you can start planning now. Exactly. It's just Tuesday, so.
Yeah. And even if you don't want to plan, I think sometimes people think, oh, it's just so much to look at. There's hundreds of things here. So many of our guests just show up downtown and have a delightful experience coming upon whatever it is they encounter in the streets.
Just step into it and see what you find. Yeah. Well, it is always lovely. And Cole, we appreciate, all the work that goes into putting this together. And so, again, IMMERSEfest.com. And we actually put together a link on our website, too. So we're linking that as well so that people can take a look at all the offerings. But we appreciate you stopping in to tell us more about IMMERSE.
Always great to see you.
All right, you too. Take care. So yeah, if you want to take a closer look at that and all the Central Florida happenings, we have a newsletter you can sign up for at clickorlando.com, and you'll always get that delivered to your inbox. And one of our digital producers put together this IMMERSE guide, and you can take a look at what Brenda compiled and see the links to take you over to the IMMERSEfest.com as well. Just head over and check that out, because I know that there's always a lot going on, and maybe you feel like, I don't know where to look. Well, check out Central Florida happenings at clickorlando.com. All right, this morning, what did you have for breakfast? I know that I have had some chips, but we talk about energy bars a lot because, they're good on the go and somewhat nutritious. But this morning, my co-anchor and insider guide, Crystal Moyer, has a look at what Consumer Reports is saying about some of these energy bars and why some stack up a little bit better than others. Let's take a look.
Many aren't as healthy as you might expect, and some have as much sugar as a candy bar.
It kind of, to me, is like brownie-like.
Consumer Reports dietitian Amy Keating oversaw testing of 31 popular bars, checking for nutrition and taste.
The key to choosing a healthy bar isn't just looking at calories. It's looking at what's actually inside, like added sugars and ingredients. And the best options will have whole food ingredients like nuts, seeds, dried fruit, and whole grains.
For fruit and nut bars, this Patter bar stood out with its complex flavor and chewy texture, and it contained more fruits and nuts than this Nature Valley bar, which fell short with what testers described as a dry, tough consistency. Kind's whole grain bar got high marks for its moderate sweetness with hints of coconut and honey, but Bobo's Oat Bar Original got low marks as it has more than twice the added sugars of the Kind bar. It tasted mild and slightly underbaked. And in the protein category, this 88 Acres bar impressed testers with its sweet and slightly salty mix featuring real pumpkin seeds that give it its protein, as opposed to more highly processed isolates like in this Think bar, which testers thought tasted bland and had a slightly bitter aftertaste.
All righty, so make sure you check that out. Also, go online and check out the recall on the Made Good energy and granola bars, because there's a big recall on that for metal contamination. So I know that I had picked up some a while back. So that's the Made Good brand. So check it out. Also this morning, F-150s. We know we love our trucks in Florida, but across the country there is a new top vehicle, and it's not the F-150, guys. It is this girl right here, the Toyota RAV4. And it's no wonder, because, people probably want to save on gas, but you can take a look at this because basically the trucks are being dethroned, and JATO Dynamics got some data together, and they say that the number one vehicle is the RAV4. They say the hybrid powertrain is a big reason in that rise in popularity, and the study found that Honda CRV also up, and the Tesla Model Y decreased. So you might want to take a look at that from JATO Dynamics and see their analysis of the top vehicles. But, we do need those trucks, though, for those weekends of getting things done. Anyway, speaking of vehicles, the EV charging stations are something that people take into consideration when they are looking at an electric vehicle. So every year, Florida's Department of Transportation generates millions in funding from a fuel tax, and now some lawmakers are looking at a fee for electric vehicles. A recent bill filed in Florida's State Senate calls for collecting 6 cents for every kilowatt hour of electricity used at a public charging station. The money would go into a fund for future road projects. An estimated 2,300 charging stations in Florida are out there right now, and supporters say the plan could provide millions of dollars for the state's infrastructure needs. The measure, if passed and signed by the governor, the fees would begin in October. So that's definitely an interesting development with that as well. But you can find these stories and more always at clickorlando.com. We'll have more news and weather coming up live at noon, and keep it here for more on News 6 Plus. Have a great day.